Hi, I'm Stephen Graham. I'm the Employer Technical Support Manager for the Plumbing and Mechanical Services UK Industry Pension Scheme. The scheme has almost 36,000 members and has had close to 4,000 employers participating since it commenced in 1975. This represents a proud heritage of providing accessible, good value retirement benefits to the plumbing and mechanical services industry. However, it also represents a large amount of member benefits built up over the years. I'll explain how this interacts with the legislation and where it leaves participating employers. Firstly, let us get a bit of background on Section 75 employer debts. They're called Section 75 debts as they arise owing to Section 75 of the Pensions Act 1995 as subsequently amended. The legislation was enacted to protect pension scheme members from unscrupulous employers. If a large corporation walks away from its pension scheme, it can leave the members' benefits in a precarious financial position. When the employer debt legislation was first enacted, the requirement was that the departing employer should pay any difference between the pension liabilities valued using the minimum funding requirement basis and the scheme's assets. This was not too onerous. And the scheme had always sufficient assets to pay all benefits on this basis. When we're speaking about pension liabilities, we're referring to the expected value of all the benefit promises that have been built up in the scheme. The legislation was amended in 2005 with effect from the 2nd of September 2005, meaning that any employers wishing to leave a multi-employer pension scheme would have to pay into the scheme sufficient money so that the pension liabilities for that employer's members could be bought out with an insurance company. This is known as the buyout basis, which can be a substantial sum of money. Like the vast majority of defined benefit schemes, the Plumbers Scheme does not hold sufficient assets to buy out with an insurance company. The difference between the scheme's assets and the cost of buying out all the benefits is known as the buyout deficit. At the point an employer exits the scheme, the employer becomes responsible to pay their share of the scheme's buyout deficit. This is based on the proportion of their members' pension liabilities versus all the liabilities of the currently participating employers. An employer exits a scheme when they have no active members in the scheme. This could be owing to voluntary withdrawal or winding up, or an insolvency event. An employer changing legal entity is also a trigger, as the new entity is strictly speaking a new employer. For example, if a sole trader becomes a limited company, the sole trader ceases to participate. The big issues that make this legislation so problematic for this scheme are, firstly, the buyout deficit is very large. Secondly, there are a lot of employers who once participated in the scheme but who no longer exist, who exited before the legislation was brought in 2005, or have gone insolvent. The share of the buyout deficit from all these employers gets picked up by the remaining employers. The scheme has been active in lobbying government for a change in the way this works. It is clear the pressures brought by the legislative requirement would be completely unaffordable for most of the scheme's employers. The government has stated they recognise the seriousness of the situation and are keen to find a solution, but have stressed it is complex and they have to be careful not to create further unintended consequences. The scheme has been unable to calculate the Section 75 employer debts for a number of reasons, but the trustee is working with the government and its professional advisors to find a workable solution. We understand the frustration and distress that this is causing the scheme's participating employers. Whilst we cannot change the law, nor the position that we are currently in, the trustee continues to work with the government to find a way forward, whilst at the same time getting to a position that we can actually estimate debt amounts for individual employers. Please take the time to read through the material available on the website on this complex issue. We are here to support. Please get in touch if you want further information.